What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brent, and today I have a pretty cool video. So I posted some behind the scenes to some photos that I took out in LA of my friend Quinn in her in-home studio, and I used 100-watt constant lights. I only used 2 lights and I was able to get some really spectacular portraits. So I wanted to take you all through and break down how it is that I use smaller lights when I am in the studio. So let's see, is 100 watts enough? Can we do it with just 2 100-watt lights? I'm excited to get into this content. Let's hop right in. So as you all can see, I have my lovely assistant Emily yet again with me in the studio to help make these demonstrations. And I'm actually going to start with a photo just using the ambient light in the space. The settings that I'm going to lock in are f4. My shutter speed is going to be at 1/125th, and I am going to shoot at an ISO of 640. Now, I am not going to be turning off the lights this time as I would normally, because I don't actually need these portraits to be super dramatic. The whole point here is to try and use the ambient light to my advantage. So with these newer cameras, you are able to bump up your ISO ever so slightly so that you can get a fairly exposed image with just the ambient light. And as you'll see, she's still pretty dark, but this is where I'm going to be starting from before I start to bring in my lights. Now, to make this setup happen, I am going to be using 2 Zhiyun C100s. Now, I've done a review on these before, and they are full RGB lights, but in this case, I'm going to be using both lights at 5600 Kelvin, so I'm going to be using them on their normal white setting. And one thing about these lights, they are a little bit heavy. Even though they're nice long tubes and they're pretty compact, they're pretty heavy lights. So I like to put them, if I am going to do them on just a light stand, I like those like metal ones that are a little bit more sturdy, because I have tried to use them on some of the stands where you have a little bit of a swivel head and they're just way too heavy. They will just literally fall over. But I do prefer to use them in these instances because I can get a better spread of light on my subject. So if I'm trying to go for something like a full body shot, I'm going to be able to get a little bit more coverage because they have a much longer spread top to bottom, as opposed to something that's going to be a little bit more wider. And I also have barn doors, so they come with barn doors as well, so I can control that light if I need to. My first light that I'm going to bring in is going to be in the Rembrandt position, and I'm going to have this light at 5600 Kelvin, and I'm also going to have it at 100% power. If I'm going to be using a little light, I'm using all of that power. I need every single inch of the power that I can get out of this light. So I'm going to have it at 100%, and you're going to see me pop up on the screen a few different example images that I'm taking with this light at 100% and in the Rembrandt position. And what you're going to notice is there's a pretty good coverage. What I'm also doing is having Emily a little bit close to the background just so I can let some of that light spill. And for the key light, I'm not going to be focusing it at all. I'm going to keep that bad boy wide open, no barn door focusing, because I do want some of this light to bleed onto the backdrop. But we're not finished yet because we have one more light that we need to add in. Pardon the interruption, but if you're seeing me right now, that means that my Studio Flash Playbook Volume 1 is released. It's going to be 79 pages, 12 different lighting setups, light ratio cheat sheet, going to teach you how to meter lights. It's the whole shebang shabazz. I've done a ton of R&D on this project, been working on it for the last couple of months. It is linked down below. I'm not going to waste any more of your time. If you do plan to buy this ebook, please, wherever you can reach me, and I would love to hear your feedback, because every single product that I put out, I want to add value to this community. I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Back to the content. The second light that I'm going to bring into this setup, if you know me, you know where this is going. We are going for the cross lighting. So I am going to add another C100 to across, right, to the other side of Emily and across from our key light. And this one is going to actually be set to 50%. So I don't need it to be quite as harsh as my key light, because I'm actually getting very good coverage for my key light. So all I want to do is just kind of bring her off of that background a little bit and lift my overall levels to bring a more pleasing image together. And I'm going to be popping up a few of the raw photos that I'm taking at the moment in which I am doing this with Emily. And I'm going to have her move around just a little bit, right? Kind of take her face from side to side. And you'll notice that we can get a very similar cross-lighting portrait as we can to our very normal cross-lighting that we do with our strobes. One of the things that is amazing about the time that we live in is we are actually able to play around with our ISOs with these newer cameras. So by only taking my ISO up to 640, I've shot this camera on 1250, I've shot at 1600, and I've gotten very clean photos. So at f4, you are going to get great wide shot images. You're gonna have no problem getting wide shot images. And you're also at 1/125th of a shutter speed, you are still going to be able to capture very sharp, very crisp images, because if you're able to keep your model posed pretty well, then you're not gonna get a bunch of motion blur, unless you just have the shakiest hands that I've ever seen in my life. Now I'm gonna pop up the retouched images that I shot out in LA, so you can really see kind of what these types of portraits look like when you actually retouch the images and you finish and complete them. But this is the very simple setup that I use to get these type of portraits in the studio. So you don't necessarily need the largest lights possible, and if you're someone who isn't always in the studio and maybe you just want to make sure that your lights are versatile enough to take in the studio when you need it, I definitely believe that 100 watts is more than enough, especially with the camera tech that we have right now. Another little tidbit that I will add, I add this every time that we use constant lights. I really suggest trying to get that space. If you can't turn off the lights, you don't want to turn off the lights, you can still kind of black out some of the natural light, because you might not want too much natural light coming through if you want full control. So if you're in a studio that has a bunch of natural light, try to make sure that you get that natural light taken care of, whether that be with a V-flat, blackout curtains, or whatever the case may be. That way you can really focus on controlling that light as much as possible. And that's gonna do it for another video. I really appreciate you all for sticking through this one. Don't forget to check out the Studio Flash Playbook Volume 1. I promise you it is packed full of information that you will need. And just some more recap here. 100 watts, plenty of light. You could do a key plus fill, you could do a cross lighting, you could use, one of the lights as a hair light, kind of prop it up, have it back. If you do have something that's a little bit similar to the C100s, understand that they will be a little bit heavy. But if you were to go with something like the Moelis X100 or the CX100s, the smaller lights that are more rectangular, those fit on light stands no problem. The really smaller and compact light stands, those fit on those light stands no problem, and you'll still be able to get a great spread of light. You could go bare bulb, and they also come with little reflectors, so you wouldn't have any issue there. The biggest thing that you want to make sure of is that you are controlling your ambient light, so make sure you set that ambient light first so that you know, okay, this is about where I'm starting. Kind of know how you want your background to look, if you want it to be fairly exposed and high key, or if you want it to be super dark and moody. If you want it to be super dark and moody, you don't have to push your ISO as much. You can use an ISO that's a lot lower and then bring those lights in and kind of shape them and move them around as you see fit. I hope this was a very great help to some of you who I know have only a few of the lower powered lights, and you can still get a lot of bang for your buck. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you all in the next video.